during the Roaring Twenties, Tammany Hall had, like the city itself, gone on, and I quote our guy, F. Scott Fitzgerald, gone on the gaudiest spree in history. And when a man like F. Scott Fitzgerald, who's known for going on week-long benders, riding around on the roof of taxis, taking off his clothes at the theater just for the fun of it, and offering to throw himself out of a window to impress another writer, says that it was a wild time, you can be pretty sure it was a wild time. Tammany chose a fitting man for mayor during this gaudy era of, prohibition and speakeasies and flapper haircuts and all this sort of stuff. A man by the name of James J. Walker, a former band leader, the nattily attired Bo James, as he was often known, was famous not just as the author of a number of hit songs, especially, let's try this, Will You Love Me in December as you do in May? But also as the man who popularized the shiny silk lapels that are still standard on tuxedo jackets to this day. Music and fashion were good rackets, but Walker saw politics as the ultimate entertainer's grift. So turning his old vaudeville song and dance man routines into the most entertaining political rallies New York had ever seen, he was elected mayor in 1926, but very rarely bothered showing up to work. He conducted most of his business from a private room at the Central Park Casino. And when he did bother heading down to City Hall in the municipal building, it was usually just to ask his secretary if there were any checks in the mail. If the answer was no, he'd sweep the great piles of paper from his desk and have someone else clean up the mess. Walker's police commissioner was on the mafia payroll, and many of the boys in blue spent more time rounding up honest citizens and shaking them down for bribes than they did pursuing actual criminals. City planners talked a good game about building a Henry Hudson Bridge to connect the Bronx and northern Manhattan, but didn't do any actual building. Work on the Triborough Bridge, a nexus of crossings and approach roads emanating from Randall's Island and the East River to connect Manhattan and Queens and the Bronx, had been started and stopped so many times that New Yorkers had taken to calling it the Bridge to Nowhere. But even the great public works the city had already built during this time are starting to fall into comical levels of disrepair. It was almost impossible to discern the dregs of the Tammany machine employed by the Parks Department from the rummies that they napped next to on Central Park benches. The cages in the Central Park Zoo were so rickety that a small fire or maybe a stiff breeze could knock them open. Instead of fixing the cages, Tammany issued shotguns to the guards.